They're always counted as down. Right?
Hey, Ray, I'm going to try this live stream again real quick. I am recording the match so we can upload Bulgarians 1,000 points. We've added a tank to my list, represented by the A7. So what was that? They are always observers, and only spotters are counted as always being down. So mortar artillery spotters, not forward observers and snipers. It's in the spotters rule. They're not a spotter. They're a headquarters unit.
Okay.
It wouldn't help you from a sniper anyway.
Yeah.
You do get to
So all
put
I
you
get
do
is.
get to put your you do get to put your bunkers and stuff on.
Yeah, I know. I was. I don't think those go forward deployed though.
Well, they go on during train setup,
Yeah, they'll go up to this 12
so
inch.
you can put them down now prior to deploying your forward deployers.
Mm-hmm.
At least you maybe make a nice spot for one. You'll have to move your other troops up to them on your first wave. You know.
Oh, right.
So the Italians here. So like I said, I'm recording left to right. Tough scenario for Chris. I didn't even have to use my Italian reroll for point defense. So I'm gonna be. I got the objectives here, there, and then one over there. I put my light howitzer in my Italian hardcover with the LMG team. I've got my mortar spotter here. I've got an MMG team there. My Saharina infantry squad. My two 6-man LMG teams there. I have a sniper up in that building, and I have my M1242 or M1542, whatever the five MMG beast with the 8 armor. Chris does have a Panzer 38, so I can't just run roughshod with the machine guns going nuts. And he does have his tank gun thing, uh, which he hasn't elected, whether it's starting with HE or with the anti-tank gun because it's not on the board yet. This is going to be tough, Rob. We are using the Adepticon rules for this scenario. And I, instead of deploying half my stuff and bringing on the other stuff later, which was a nightmare for the attackers, I did deploy my entire army. It will be subjected to a prep bombardment, which we haven't rolled yet, but it comes in automatically. There's no 2-up. And then that's pretty much it for the modifications. What that does actually gives the attacker a chance, because then if he tries to overload one objective side to at least get a draw to push for maybe a win, I have to react on board, and he can counter that with assets maybe on the board. The way it was written in the book, in a tournament setting, I would just leave half my army off the board until like turn 4. And then once he was in his position where he's pushing to the objectives, I'd come in, counter, and shut him down. And it was almost impossible. It's still a hard one for the attackers, honestly, and it's super hard because I'm the Italians, and Chris took a Bulgarian army with fortifications and spent a lot of his points
Yeah.
on that. That's a nice spot for that, actually, because kind of
Yeah.
makes my Saharina, depending on what gets into it, could be really tough. Be nice if you had a truck with that anti-tank gun, or even a wagon, because you could run it. You could advance in with your artillery piece.
They can still do a run order.
Yeah, they only go 6 inches. Artillery pieces. They don't even run. Although I guess I don't know. Actually, you wouldn't be able to put an artillery piece in there unless it started the game, because artillery
Yeah,
can't.
that's. Well, they say bunker can go full size squad or special weapons.
You could start it in there for sure. I don't know if you would be able to move into it, since it probably, because you can't move one into a building or rough ground or anything after a game starts. If that's where you even wanted your anti-tank gun. You have other assets.
Yeah,
You have an MMG team that would be perfect in there. They could run.
that was my thought.
Yeah.
Was to stick an MG team in there.
Yeah, they'd be brutal. They'd be really tough in there.
Yeah, see, this is hard because all you kind of have to do is just sit back for the most part and stay in cover.
Yeah, turn 1, I'll be clearing pins from the prep bombardment. Like I did tell Chris here prior to recording, if he could get really lucky with the prep bombardment and kill the 3 things that I have that are susceptible. No, I have 4 things. then I'll be down 3 order dice, and I will be suffering a -2. Unlikely, but because the sniper I deployed outside of my deployment zone, so it's not subject to prep bombardment. But the anti-tank rifle is, which if you kill one guy, obviously it forces a check. The lieutenant is, and both vehicles are. So I still have
This does start represent soft cover.
soft cover. Yep.
Okay. Hmm. It's rubble, so that blocks line of sight. Man.
Rubble doesn't block line of sight.
Well, I mean, no, you can see all the way through it.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
just
you're
hard cover.
Okay, it's just hard cover.
Yeah.
So, all right.
The only thing that blocks line of sight is obviously buildings and woods, dense terrain. So I don't know what anybody thinks if they're watching this about the Italian tank. I think it's pretty badass. So what I'm doing when I looked at the pictures of it, it looks a lot like the Panzer 38, honestly. But it has coax MMGs, 2 coax MMGs, and has 2 whole mount MMGs, but they're mounted together like tandem. So I told Chris before the game, it doesn't say it in the book, but I'm gonna limit myself to basically treating them as dual. So you have to fire at the same target. So the 2 on the hull would have to fire at the same target. The 2 coax would have to fire at the same target. And then I also did the pintle upgrade. I don't think it'll be much of an issue that we'll all be wanting to spray fire at 5 different directions, but I'll only be able to do that to 3 different directions with a lot of firepower. That thing's a beast.
What's that?
The M42. See, I love light tanks anyway. I think they're the best value in bolt action. Like the Panzer 38, love it. The light anti-tank gun can be underwhelming, but if you take a dual platoon and you take 2, they can work together, and they can. So for 270 points, gives you a lot more versatility. If you end up having to face off against a medium or even a heavy tank, your goal isn't to kill it. It's to just keep it out of the game from destroying all your other stuff for 4 or 5 turns, just harassing.
Yeah. Fuck it.
Trying to figure out where to put your artillery.
Yes, it's dumb shit.
Well, all he needs to do is see a spot, and then you can.
What spot?
Yeah.
I'm limited assets to begin with. So this does not block line of sight, though.
No, just the woods would.
I guess I could put him in, couldn't I?
You could. We could leave him behind it so you can run faster if you wanted to run him 12 inches on a turn or something.
Because you're still firing through it. Either way, you get the same effect.
Yeah, you just can't. It has to be a fire order to call it in. So it can't be an advance and it can't be a run.
No, I meant as far as cover, it's still a
Yep,
-2.
still a -2.
Either way, whether you're in it or not.
Yep, small team, and -2 for the cover.
All right, so that's my forward. I'm not going to bother with any of that wire and all that stuff.
Okay.
There's no point.
I'm not going to be going that way, probably. I would say in a scenario like this, just for sake of discussion, since you don't have a deployment zone per se, I would say you'd be able to deploy it like the 4 deployers halfway up the board, I would assume. You know what I mean? Like if you were going
That's all I did.
No, if you were going to put the wire, I would
right,
say
right.
you could probably.
Yeah. So you start with. Okay, never mind. They wouldn't be subject to being destroyed.
My little walls.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just walls.
Because they did say that trench. I'm pretty sure they said trench sections were. I mean, it's not going to come into play here.
Mm-hmm.
Those are
Subject to being destroyed on
by
the.
prep.
Yeah. I'll
Bunkers
have to
and all
look at
stuff.
that. Boy, that may be something I want to buy in addition to the Italian. And I'm gonna have to look at the FAQ because I'm pretty sure I can downgrade my hardcover into 4 soft covers
Imagine if you had this force right here, and you got on the defense, and you took that tank out of play, you would have what I have plus more. You'd have 32 inches of wire to
Yeah.
deploy, and 32 inches of anti-tank ditches.
Yeah.
And
The problem
these
is
two things.
the versatility of that point value, as we just demonstrated in you rolling to be the attacker, can be.
Oh, well, right.
Now, if you
Thank
took an expensive, if I took an expensive gun or something, that bunker would be something maybe I'd want to start in
Yeah,
at the
those 50.
beginning, because you could still say I put a medium howitzer in it or something. That'd be a handy
I
little.
think there's specific gun emplacements like that you can get.
Okay.
I didn't really look too close at them, because some of them are specifically for guns.
Well, even that thing that you like the tank, there's like the weapon pit,
Yeah,
whatever.
I always count it
As
as
down.
down.
That'd be great for an anti-tank gun, where
Yeah.
you're like, because anti-tank guns in bolt action, I don't like taking them because they're not very versatile. I like them in theory, but you have to run a specific list with maybe multiples. So if you bought something like that, and you're like, my goal of that is I'm spending a 75 point medium anti-tank gun or even a light anti-tank gun for 50 points, plus I'm purchasing that. My goal is to put it on a flank and leave it, set it and forget it, and that's what it's gonna do.
Yeah.
That's not a bad strategy, because then you end up with at least no matter what board you walk up to, you walk up with at least one defensive arrangement.
Yeah.
And it can be mentally upsetting to people when you put something like that and you put a gun in it. Then they start to fucking focus on it, which is not a bad thing. Sometimes they really start spending a lot of assets trying to suppress it, even though it's really not going anywhere. It just annoys them that it won't die.
Yeah.
So you put a veteran light anti-tank gun or a veteran light howitzer
Well,
in something like that, it's going to be around for a
that's
long
basically
time.
what I've got is this Skoda gun here.
Mhm.
So, and that's obviously the plan where I'm going to go.
Yeah,
with.
that's a good piece
So
of
I'm gonna have a
investment
veteran.
for that, because you got the versatile barrel.
Mhm.
And so once you're in it, then you're like, okay, now let's set up shop. So
Yeah. And so you've got a veteran unit sitting there at a -3 to hit automatically.
because it counts as always being down
It
and
counts as
soft
being
cover.
down and then soft cover.
And if you would get hit by a HE shot or a mortar would start to range in on you, you're not so worried about it, because generally you have to decide, okay, I'm going to go down here. He's on a 4-up, 50% chance. I'll go ahead and go down, and I miss. You're like, damn it. Well, you're already in it, so well, I'm already down. So if he hits me with the mortar, it's not going to do all 3 casualties. It's going to only do 2 at the most.
Yeah.
At the most, because